what's up, dude?
We're back. We're back. It's been a while. We are back, and well, I don't know, better than ever, maybe better than ever, but we're back. It is another episode of I Live the 80s. Welcome, welcome, welcome to those who are listening, and to those that will be here, and to those that are out there, Jen Carter, and there is Chris as well. What's up, Chris? And of course, as always, my co-host Ed is here, and Ed, I think you have a friend there with you, too, who's been missing for a while. Google!
Hello, Joseph.
It's been a while, Google.
You know, my ass was kind of nice. I didn't have a hand up it for a while, other than, like, you know, those special nights that, you know, those cold nights. But, you know, Joseph.
Yes, I do. I do. So, yeah, there's Big Dan. My boys are back. Yo, Adrian, they're back. Drago. Yeah, that's very appropriate now, huh?
Yeah,
that's very.
Before we get started, I just want to say, like, my heart goes out to everybody involved with all that. We don't want to get too into stuff, but because this is about having fun and not worrying about the world. But our heart goes out to everybody involved with that, and I think that's all we'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy stuff that's happening and everything. Who'd have thought after a pandemic we'd go through this? But like Ed said, yes.
It's the 80s all over, huh?
Yeah.
Not in a good way either.
More than we know, apparently. More than we know. But we're going to start off with Flashback to the Future. Then we're going to go into Mixtape Minute. Mixtape Minute this week, we have a song from Artiva. So we'll do that. And then also I have an announcement during Mixtape Minute. Rather than a second song, I'm going to announce a song from our friend Scott. Elevate the Sky has a song coming up that he did a collab with someone who was actually just on, we just spotlighted them on Mixtape Minute not that long ago. So make that announcement as to where you can, there's a link out there for it and how you can pre-order that. He's working hard. He's getting that album going and supposed to have it done soon. He said he can't wait to come back on the show. And then of course we will hit our main topic tonight, which basically is just going to be, I mean, we thought they were inconveniences then, but they're not maybe really as much to us now. And it's kind of funny how you think that way, that maybe it would have been better off had we still been back there. So we'll talk about, and it's funny we're talking about this on an Ash Wednesday too, because I'll bring up some of that kind of stuff that my mom used to make me sit through when I was a young man going to church. And things like that. So I'll talk about that because that was definitely at that point in my life when I want to go outside an inconvenience. I'm not going to get into the whole. I don't want to make anybody mad about religion, but yes, I will. I will talk about how my mom used to torture me into making me sit in church quite often during Lent. So I'll discuss that too. So Dan says HBO Max series about the Lakers. Yeah, that's interesting because they have people playing. Of course, they're playing the Celtics and stuff in that too. So yeah, I may want to check that out. But yes, Google it.
Do you know what I'm giving up for Lent?
What are you giving up?
Protected sex. Oh God, you can tell he's been away for a while.
He's raring to go. He's raring to go.
He's wild, man.
All right.
He's
well.
Wild. There's no filter.
No, he doesn't have a filter. Absolutely.
No.
I mean, puppets can't really have a filter, so I guess we'll excuse him for that.
We can't be held responsible for the puppet.
No, I mean they have a mind all their own.
Mm-hmm.
Minds all their own. So, all right. Well, we'll start with Flashback to the Future tonight, and we'll look at some things. So, a couple of things that we could chat about. One, and I think this was pretty big 80s news, is Ed, it looks like we're getting, after all these years, a Beetlejuice sequel.
Get out of town.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, apparently Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder are on for the show. Signed on for, look, Michael Keaton.
Ryder in the nursing home.
Michael Keaton is doing everything he's done in his career in reverse.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's Batman twice this year in two different movies. So we got him coming up in Flashpoint, and then of course coming up in Batgirl, which I think he plays an even bigger part. They showed scenes of him in the suit and stuff like that. So it showed the Batmobile. So he's doing that, and then he's going to go back and do Beetlejuice again, which again nobody really ever thought they'd see that, but pretty cool.
I guess his head will grow.
It'll
no longer be shrunken, huh?
Well, I don't know, like who was going to bring him back? I mean, you
say his name 3 times. Google. That's what happened to me, and I got stuck with this thing on my hand.
Stuck with the puppet
on my hand. Yeah, I had no idea.
So I mean, there you go. We're gonna get a Beetlejuice sequel. Who'd have thought? I mean, after all these,
shut up. Sorry.
You know what though, dude? I think that we're seeing, and I was talking to a couple of people about this. I think what we're seeing now, especially because the movie theaters were so bad during COVID, weren't getting anybody there. I think we're going to see like a glut of movies now that are going to be fan service. I think you're going to get a lot of that, like we got with Ghostbusters. I finally watched that.
Fantastic!
It really was. Yeah, it really was.
It was fantastic.
It was a great tribute to Harold Ramis too. And yeah, it really was. It was really done well. And if they do that kind of stuff, I mean, I'm down. I'm all for it. I don't mind it at all. If they're going to do that, fan service is done right. It's actually, it's a good thing. So
I did not like that announcement about the Batman though, that they said they're toying with the prices. That announcement you made, I wasn't too thrilled about that.
AMC announced today that they're doing a price raise for select films. So they're going to pick and choose, obviously, the big ones, the blockbuster films, and they're going to raise the prices for tickets and stuff like that. I'm kind of glad I don't go to an AMC, and I go to Cinemark most of the time. But that's not to say if one does it that the other won't do it too, especially if they see that people are willing to do that. I think that's stupid, really, because you're struggling to get people there the way it is. And I mean, Batman's going to be out on HBO Max in less than a month. It's going to be out like already in April. So people will just wait. Like they're why go to the movies at all if you're going to keep paying more and more and more?
Personally, I personally hate going to the theaters. I like seeing an awesome movie like a sci-fi or something on the big screen. But I mean, like other than the Burka loungers that you can put your feet up in, like those are nice that you're not crammed next to somebody. Other than certain people shaking their popcorn bags, inside joke. But like it's a pain when you're like, I'm not a big fan of being at the theaters and crammed with people and people talking. You remember those times when people were talking throughout the theaters, how agitated we get.
Oh yeah.
I love the whole like COVID, like I don't love COVID, but I like the whole like everything being released in HBO Max and everything like that. I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't complain one bit. It was awesome. I always said I wish that they made something where you paid extra money and they would just stream it straight to home and you can watch the new movies in your home. I prefer it, but other people don't. Big Dan said he recommends Guardians of Justice with, beautiful love letter to 80s pop culture, shades of Watchmen and The Boys plus DDP, John Morrison. I saw that with DDP. That's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah, he was talking about it this morning on Busted Open. They interviewed him and he was talking about it. They apparently it uses like claymation mixed with live action mixed with like there's a whole mishmash of things going on in there. But so it's supposed to be different. LaGreca on Busted Open talked about it and said he watched some of it and said he enjoyed it. I mean, obviously you're going to get a lot of this stuff now where they're going to do more adult takes on superhero stuff, and a lot of that came from Peacemaker. You've seen Peacemaker, Ed, right? You watch Peacemaker yet?
Does a bear poop in the woods?
It was so good. And I mean, he did such a great job of that, but you're going to see a lot more of that now. And how about Disney too? Speaking of like hot news, Disney finally broke the news that they're going to have all the Netflix shows on Disney Plus. So now Disney Plus is going to have ratings. I got 2 warnings today, actually, because I used to have my youngest daughter on there as a user, and if they're under a certain age now, you get, and it's coming up. It says, adult content ratings have been adjusted on Disney Plus because they're going to be 18 plus. A lot of those series, Jessica Jones and stuff like that. So I was surprised to see that, but that's good for some things. I mean, now everybody was saying, well, Deadpool's going to have to go on Hulu. Not anymore. Not anymore. They could just give it a rating and put it on there. So I guess that's kind of cool because everybody was saying that Disney, there's no way Disney's going to let them do Deadpool. Well, maybe not so sure. They now that they have that going on, they might not be so objected to that. So yeah.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, they're working on that too. Ryan Reynolds was saying, I think that he's been keeping pretty quiet because people have been asking him, is he in Doctor Strange? And he's like, no, I am not in Doctor Strange. But yeah, I mean, who knows? People will say stuff and they won't end up telling it. Can't tell the truth about it.
We've seen that with other movies where they said no, and surprise.
Patrick Stewart finally admitted that was his voice after all these weeks. He kept denying it. And he's like, well, a lot of people have been imitating my voice over the years. But then he finally said, when I did hear it, it didn't sound like me. So I'm not, but he finally came out and admitted it. So, yeah, so that's cool. But, yeah, and then the other thing, I saw Scream. I don't know if you got to see it. I saw the new Scream last night. I watched it. It came out on demand. It was good. It was enjoyable. It's an easier one to do and keep remaking because they could just keep bringing these younger kids in and kind of keep doing the same thing over. But they made it they call it a requel, which is what you're seeing with a lot of horror movies now. They're doing remakes of horror films like Halloween and stuff like that. And so, but it was good. The kills were some of them were pretty gruesome. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I think it acted kind of it's a send off, I think, more than anything for the original cast. And yeah, you could kind of see that at the end without spoiling anything. It was worth a watch. I'm not going to say it was the best one. I mean, you can't really duplicate like the first couple of them. But it's worth a watch.
I'm more action, comedy, sci-fi. I'm not really horror. That's I've never been into horror that much, so I really can't. Oh, if I get a chance. But let's just say it's very down on my list of movies. I have been watching that Legend of Vox Machina on Amazon. Yeah. I like that. It's good anime. It's Dungeons and Dragons, D&D.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
D&D,
but we're way off topic. We're just chatting away about.
It's all good. Cares?
It's our podcast, our rules, right?
It's all stuff that relates to the 80s and stuff or 90s anyway. So
it's very very D&D. They have like your rogue, your your bard, your healer, like all the classes are in there, and like each anime character. And I'll tell you what, a lot of adult language, very graphic, very good. I'm really digging it. You should check it out. And they're only 20-minute episodes, 20-some minute episodes, so they're quick. I really dig it.
I watched a couple animes that were on Toonami. I watched the Blade Runner one, which was actually good. It was called Blade Runner Black Lotus. Was good. It kind of fills the gaps in from the original to 2049. And then I heard they're doing another one. They're doing 2099, which is supposed to be a series now on one of the streaming services. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and the video game. If you ever played the Sega, and this goes back.
Sega.
The Sega game, Shenmue. That came out years and years ago. They're doing a Shenmue anime, so that kind of took its place when that first started, and that's pretty good too. It comes on late, but they're a little more adult content when they show that on Toonami because it's after midnight that they have them on. Let's not forget
Captain Picard is on.
Oh, I am so excited for that. Yeah, I'm so excited. The last one was so good, and yeah, Picard starts tomorrow. So if you're a Trekkie. Or a Trekker, I don't know what they call them anymore. A Trekkie or a Trekker, but if you like Star Trek, yeah, that starts on Paramount tomorrow. I'm excited because they're bringing Q back, and I love Q. Q is awesome. One of the best villains I think ever. He really did that well.
Hi Gina. Hi Nancy.
Hey Nancy, how are you? And Gina's in the chat. Hello.
And there's Dan. He's gonna make me throw up in my mouth with his comment. Sucking up, Dan. Sucking up.
Dan, yes. Google would be upset with you, Dan. He'd be upset with you.
Google is off. Google is on like the French version. I think it's called like Le Tinder. He's on there trying to score his next dates for the weekend. So I just called him, but he's busy.
Hey, you have to be excited too because ever since we've been on the last time, they announced the new live action He-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm super pumped up for that.
I figured you would.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'll definitely have my loincloth on, and I'm gonna get my wig.
I have the power.
Yeah, I'll probably get intoxicated and run down Public Square looking for Cringer, screaming Cringer. I'll do that. That'll be fun.
And there's a new Transformers film I think that they're working on as well.
Yeah, Beast Wars.
Yeah, they're gonna. Prime is in it. Optimus Prime is in it, but I think
Optimus Primal.
He's the only one of the original G1s that are going to be in the film, and then it's going to be based around the Beast Wars thing. So yeah, so that's cool. All of these things, man. That's what I'm saying. I think and we've still got so much this year that's on the way, and they're all harkening back to like 90s stuff. I mean, when we get Keaton and Batman and everything like that, it's all going back to older times. So that's what I said, man. We're really living in a world where they're going back to things. So yeah, it's really cool.
It's cool. We went for dinner a few weeks ago to Cooper's Seafood in Scranton.
Yeah.
And they have like one whole section where it's behind plexiglass, and they have all Transformers set up.
Wow, that's
like
awesome.
They set up all. They have like the boxes. They have all.
Oh, you're talking about Cooper's in Scranton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they have like all these displays. Like one part, they have old Simpsons toys and all that stuff. And the one whole wall, it's all hollowed out. And they had like Devastator. They had like Soundwave, Shockwave. They had Megatron, like the old Megatron. I don't know where the hell they got them, but it was absolutely amazing. I was like mesmerized. I'm like just staring at it. I'm like, what I wouldn't give to just go behind that and start playing with them. Oh my God. I'd be in my glory playing with them all. It's like Shane's. It was like Shane's room, like, you know, the Geek Haven with all the shelves
and all the Transformers.
It was like, it was just like that. I mean, it wasn't as extensive as his, but oh my God, it was like the same thing. You know what I mean? It was just like beautiful.
Man, I'll tell you, that stuff is going up and up. That collector stuff is really like, if you have that, it's just kind of sitting around, it's a good time to sell, because a lot of people are looking for a lot of that stuff. But oh my God, it's crazy, man. Crazy. All right. Let's do On This Day. What you got for On This Day today?
All right. On This Day. This is Spinal Tap, premiered in theaters. Such an awesome movie.
Yeah, great movie.
How about this one? 5 the song Somewhere Out There.
Oh my God.
Of the year. I would play a clip of it, but those actually, I'm surprised they're not over there fighting with our buddy. Those communists at YouTube would flag us. So
yeah, you can't.
Like I said, no. Can't. But maybe I could get away with playing a clip, because they're probably over there fighting with that guy. But anyway, Madonna's controversial "Like a Prayer" Pepsi commercial aired in 1989, and it eventually got banned.
I remember the video when the video first came out. I mean, they really made a big deal about that. When it came out, everybody's like, "Oh my God!" So, but I didn't see it. Like when I watched it, I'm like, okay, she had some burning crosses and stuff. I'm like, I don't know.
That's an awesome song. I like that song.
I do too. It's one of her, but yeah, it's one of my favorite songs actually by her. I didn't really see it. I thought they made that into a much more bigger deal than it was. I mean, back then they had like all these religious groups and stuff were going crazy. Oh my God, she's burning crosses. And again, remember, that was the time of the devil worshippers, and that, everybody was devil worshiper, and Satanists and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I remember that well. I think I saw the debut of that actually on MTV.
Yeah. A birthday on this day, a notable birthday. Speaking of communists, Mikhail Gorbachev was born on this day back in 1931. So see how it all ties into YouTube and communists? You can tell I don't like you, YouTube. You are a communist.
You think?
And another notable thing, which is kind of sad, on this day back in 1983, Karen Carpenter passed away.
Yeah, of course she had anorexia, and yeah, she passed away.
No, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. 1984. She was born on March 2nd in 1950, but she passed away on February 4th in 1983. So I strike that. She passed away on February 4th.
Yeah,
but she was born on March 2nd in 1950.
Yeah, and I mean, if you saw pictures of her, she was always very, very, very thin. But if you saw pictures of her before she passed away, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunately the disease kind of was what led to her passing. So, yeah, very sad. And they were huge. I mean, late 70s and early 80s, they were a staple on all of the shows like Solid Gold. They were always on shows like that. So
they're awesome. And last two things, 1985, a song I really like, "Crazy for You" by Madonna was number one.
Another good one.
And in 1989, New York Mets Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry nearly got in a fist fight in front of reporters during spring training. Go Mets!
If only we had any spring training. That's not going to happen this year. There may be no baseball this year. We'll see. There may be no baseball. They're canceling stuff left and right, and wonderful.
Nancy said Bon Jovi turned 60, so happy birthday, Bon Jovi.
Wow, 60 years old. Damn.
And Big Dan said the actor who played Jesus in Like a Prayer went on to play Tom Shepard in Above the Rim. Jesus.
Look at that.
Everybody Jesus.
Damn.
Ash Wednesday.
Yes, I saw some people with the little smudge, the smudge on their forehead.
I didn't have a smudge. I went through the McDonald's drive-through. Well, my priest did like a drive-through ashing, and he said they weren't allowed to they're not allowed because of COVID to touch your So he kind of sprinkled them on me. So I went to work, and they're all like, "Why do you have ashes on your head?" And I'm like, "I'm not allowed to." He wasn't allowed to
say mist.
Yeah, my priest is like, you could actually rub them in if you want. So I kind of went like this, and it smeared. And they're all like, "Why do you have them on your head?"
Oh my gosh! It's that time. It's getting to be spring, and it is the start of the Easter season. So, all right. Well, there you go. What happened on this date? Way back when. So, all right. Next up, we're going to do some mixtape minute. Now, like I said, we have the one song for you guys this week. That is by Artiva. And we're going to start with that. And then we have a special announcement, like I said, for another song. And there is Artiva right there. So we'll do that right now. And then we have a special announcement about another song afterwards. So this is Artiva.
Written on your face, I can see. You think you're in the race. You wanna touch, you wanna feel, you wanna play, you wanna tell, you wanna dance, you wanna groove, you wanna try, you gotta move, 'cause maybe this is your night. You gotta play your cards right.
That is Artiva and Gotta Play Your Cards Right. So, very cool synthwave song. I like it. Little different. A lot of drum beats in there. Of course, you hear the keyboard. Very distinct on the vocals, though. The vocals are right out front. So great stuff. I thought it sounded great. And the video is...
Dan says that video has cologne commercial vibes all over it.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'll tell you what. For my daughter's, one of her birthdays, I was painted silver like the Tin Man. So I could really appreciate that gold makeup.
There you go. There you go. No,
that's why I made a face when I saw the gold makeup like that, because I'm like, you know what, I can appreciate that, and it's cool. I like that makeup. It's pretty cool. I like the song. I dig it.
Yeah, I liked it as well. Very cool. And for those of you who are out there in the synth fam, they call it, if you ever want to send us a song, please do so. We will spotlight it on this part of our show. Next up is just an announcement. So I'm trying to find it. Of course, I'm prepared here. But it's a song that is by our friend Scott, who's been on our show a few times. Of course, he is Elevate the Sky. And he's got a song coming out. And the song is with him and Star Madman, who she had a song on our mixtape minute as well, not that long ago, probably a couple shows back, and they collaborated for a song. So the song is called Close to You, and if you're on Twitter, hit up either one of them. So at Elevate the Sky 1. Or at Star Madman on Twitter, and you could find the link there from either one of them. If you click the link, it will take you to a way to pre-order the song. So the song hasn't released yet, but you can pre-order it. You can pre-save it for Spotify. You can pre-add it for Apple Music, and you can pre-save it for Deezer is the other one it's called. So 3 ways you can get it. Spotify, of course, for those of you who don't pay for your music and you get it free. Apple Music, of course, for those of you who have iPhones and stuff. And Deezer, I'm not sure about that one. I've never heard of that one before, but you can get it out there. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. It's the first song we're hearing from Elevate the Sky, from Scott in a little bit. And he, like I said before, he's working on that album. So whenever we hear more from that or he gets done, he will be on our show. So make sure you go check that out. And and listen here for some more artists that we will get for Mixtape Minute in the future.
Nice.
While we're on that topic, let me just say this, because this one was kind of a shocker. This came. I'm going to go to our Twitter page and pull it up quick. But this came as quite the surprise. I actually got this email in our. We got this in our email. So this is from, and I'm going to shout it out. It's from FeedSpot is the name. It's a search engine apparently for podcasts. This was sent to us, and he wanted us to shout them out. So we shouted them out. And this is the best 30 1980s music podcasts. We are number 16. We are number 16 out of 30.
Right.
So the best 80s music podcasts, according to their search engine, which is FeedSpot. So shout out to FeedSpot. They are on Twitter. Shout out to them. It's at FeedSpot, of course. And the gentleman who
no promotion at all.
Yeah,
Just
really
word of
like,
mouth, I guess, huh?
yeah,
Because
pretty
we
much.
haven't been doing anything at all.
No, yeah. I mean, we don't, other than put our stuff out on Twitter and things like that, we don't really like, we're not going crazy promoting things. Obviously, we don't pay anybody to do it or anything. So, but the gentleman's name is I'm going to butcher this, but it's Anuj Agarwal, Agarwal was the guy who sent us the email. Said emailed you regarding your, of course, our website and our podcast, which was selected by FeedSpot as one of the top 30 1980s music podcasts on the web. We'd be thankful if you could help us spread the word by briefly mentioning the top 30 1980s music podcasts on any of our shows. So there you go. We mentioned it. Thank you. That's awesome. Who'd have thought? Google must be Google. It must be you. Maybe Google's out promoting and we don't know it.
Hey, Anuj, I'll have that 100 for you, and I'll send the ladies over tonight. Okay.
Well, there's the answer.
I told you Google's got your back. Thanks for making us 16. And hey, if you bump us up to 10, I'll send you 10 other ladies. Remember that, my friend. Remember that.
There you go.
Google
there's the answer.
There we go. We're going to be ranked 20. Or
there's
we're
the
gonna
answer.
Be down to like 50 out of that one now. We'll be bounced out.
There is the answer. There you go. Penny Mardonis likes the rank number. Yes, she's just 16 years old. Leave her alone, they say.
No, Dan.
No.
No. There's a term for that. It's called statutory, my friend. No.
I got into a discussion on a group that I'm in. It's all about MTV and Headbangers Ball, and the guy was talking about, of course, the song 17 by Winger, and it must have been a younger dude, and he was like, "Man, this thing would never be played today," and I'm like, "Listen, it's from a different generation. It's from how long ago?" And then I told him, I'm like, "Listen, Kiss had a song called Christine 16." Then I told him about the Benny Mardonis thing, and I quoted that, and I'm like, it was just a different era.
It was not a different. It's just wrong. Whatever era you're in, you just don't do that.
Listen,
no.
Music reflects time, and that's the thing. You can go back to all that stuff, but it reflects the times that it was made. So, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Moving on.
Yes, let's move on. Everybody's quiet tonight. Are you there?
Yeah, everybody's like,
Nancy, where are you? Come on, Nancy. Dan.
So
Chris, Buckby, where are you? Come on.
Let's get to the topic at hand. Tonight we're going to talk about.
Where's Gwynny?
I know Gwynny's not around either.
We're missing our people. Come on.
Maybe people didn't know that we were.
Well, we haven't been on because of my work schedule.
Well, both work schedules, really. I got stuck
appendix
working later hours
3 times, and
yeah. That sucks. After the first time and the second time, it really kind of sucks.
Joe keeps getting replacement appendix.
I just have this. I keep them in a jar now, and I just kind of stick them in there. Yeah, I just stick them right in there.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to our topic.
All right, so our topic is things that kind of inconvenienced us when we were kids.
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy's our topic person.
Yeah, this came from Nancy.
Like, what about this, guys? And we're like, Nancy, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, Nancy's always sending us topics.
We give her credit.
You guys can all send us topics. I mean, we listen to everybody. But Nancy picked this one out. So things that kind of, and we don't have to make it all about, because we talk a lot about technology and stuff. So we don't have to make it all about that. But
I know we said Chris, hi.
We saw you right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Good Lord, Chris. Chuck Tyler, OMG, Christine 16 by Kiss. Great song. Oh, hey. Yes, it was. Yes, it was, Chuck. Absolutely. I remember it well. It was on, what album was that off of? Hotter Than Hell? I think was it Hotter Than Hell? Or was it, I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's Hotter Than Hell or Love Gun, maybe.
Kiss is a national treasure.
They are. Paul Stanley, I think, just turned 70 not that long ago.
Yeah, we just spoke about it. I must be that Alzheimer's, Joe. We spoke about it.
It's kicking in. It's kicking in. But yeah, so things that inconvenienced us as kids. And again, like I said, doesn't have to be all technological stuff, but and you guys in the chat can play along. I'm just going to start off because again, it's today, it's Ash Wednesday. So like probably a lot of people were, I was raised extremely Catholic, extremely Catholic. And look, your parents are brought up a certain way and they're raised to do what their parents did and things like that. So my mom and dad went to church every single Sunday. And this time of year was the kind of the pre-programmed stuff that you would do. And of course, it started on Ash Wednesday. And Ash Wednesday also said you can't eat meat. So then that started. So no meat eating on Wednesdays, and then every Friday you can't eat meat. And then when you got to Good Friday in the Easter season, well, you couldn't eat meat at all that day again. And so you had all that. And then of course we have Easter coming up, and of course Good Friday, the day that Christ died. That particular day. As I got older, now when you're young, you're going to do what your parents tell you to do. So if your parents say, listen, this is what you got to do, this is what you do. But when you get a little older and you start going out and playing basketball with your friends and doing this kind of stuff and doing other things, you kind of get a little antsy about doing this stuff. And my mom would drag me to church. Have to be there for every week to go to Stations of the Cross, and you have to be there on every day, And the Good Friday one always had the quiet hours. I don't know if you guys remember. If you were raised Catholic, you had the quiet hours. And the quiet hours, of course, are the hours that Christ died. So between the hours of 12 and 3, you were allowed to do nothing. Nothing. You couldn't go out and talk to your friends. You couldn't play. You couldn't watch TV. You couldn't listen to the radio. You could literally do nothing. So basically, like, I'd go and sit in my room. Now, when I was younger, it wasn't so bad. You could go upstairs, you could play with action figures, play with your toys, do whatever it is. But, otherwise, you're just kind of sitting there. And it was like when I'd see a lot of my friends whose parents weren't as, they were Catholic as well, but they weren't. Some of them take traditions more seriously than others. And when I see all them going out, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go out and play basketball. I just want to do what they're doing. And you can't for those 3 hours. And it's like, oh my God. So that sometimes got to be an inconvenience to me. And I went through the whole 9 yards. I was the altar boy. I went from altar boy to lector, and I was a lector for a while. And I you went through the whole church thing.
And what happened to you?
Nothing.
You're bad now.
I know. I'm terrible. I know. I'm a heathen.
My mom did that. She said about quiet hours. And we used to do this thing called yard days, where we would I mean, there's a whole backstory too, but basically we would drive around and my buddy would scream obscenities out the car window at people and we would videotape their reactions. It was kind of like Jackass, but you know.
Yeah.
And one of the days was Black Friday, Good Friday. And we were all off of school and we decided to go yawing on one of those days. And my mom said, "You can't curse and scream at people during holy hours and you're going to go to hell." And we did anyway. So that's reason number 762 why I'm going to hell is we screamed and cursed obscenities at people during holy hours, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Nancy said she was take a nap. Yeah, like is that?
See, Nancy, you got ahead of it. You took a nap during.
Yeah, you were good. See, your parents like you. You went and you were quiet, and then once 3 o'clock hit, then you were right back in church, and
right
you have
back
to go to
drinking and smoking and premarital sex. Right?
You went right over to church at 3 o'clock. You had a mass at 3 that you had to go to, and you had to do that big old ceremony with all that. Catholic Church had a lot of gold stuff. Like there was a lot. It was like a regular Indiana Jones finding in some Catholic churches. They had all those gold things. They had like that big gold cylinder that they put the wafer in, and I'm sure they all had names, but like all this gold stuff. It was like fascinating to watch.
I remember the one time I took a stanchion and I found an X on the floor and I broke the floor with the stanchion.
Did
and
you
then
find?
I crawled through and I found. Oh no, that was Indiana Jones. Moving on, like Dan has a good point, and that's a good one because your Catholic story was going on a little, Joe. Dan has a good point about the talking to your friends. Your mom was talking to her friends about Dallas while your raging hormones ached to call that girl in science class who heated your Bunsen burner.
Bunsen burner.
But that's true. Like, if you didn't have call waiting because, and if your mom was on the phone, because my mom, and I called it her cronies, because my mom had like her list of friends that she would talk to. And like my mom would talk to one, and then all of a sudden she'd hang her phone up, and then the phone would ring again. And you're like, "Is that, oh, hey, how are you?" And you're like, "Damn it." And like you're waiting to use the phone, and then your friend would be like, "Where the hell are you?" Like, I keep getting a busy signal, and we didn't have call waiting. We didn't have caller ID or anything back then. So, there was none of that stuff. And that was an inconvenience. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything like that. You just had your rotary phone. If you were lucky, you might have had a push button phone.
Yep.
And, later on when I was in high school, I was lucky enough and talked my parents into getting me a second line. So I had a telephone company run a second line to my bedroom upstairs. So then I was cool. And it was pretty neat because I had one of those, do you remember those phones that were the see-through phones that lit up?
Oh yeah, Radio Shack sold them with the lights in them.
I had one of those, so I would shut the ringer off. I thought it was all cool. I would shut the ringer off, so then if my phone rang, my whole room would light up like a friggin' strobe light. So it looked like a disco. So like I would be half dozing off, and all of a sudden it would go like that and scare the shit out of me. I would be falling asleep to my Discman. And I would have, and it was funny because you'd have your Discman with my batteries in it, because they didn't have AC adapters.
Nope.
So you'd have your batteries in it, and you'd be dozing off, and then all of a sudden you'd see, and the whole light would strobe up, and I would like jump, I'd claw into the ceiling because like I'd be scared to death. And then it was your phone, and you're all cool, and it would be your buddy. "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to go to bed. I got school tomorrow." "Oh, I can't sleep." And then you would talk about something stupid for 5 minutes, and then you're up for the next hour, and then you have to get up at 6 a.m. for school, But that was an inconvenience. We're going a long way. That was an inconvenience,
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was. I'm just going to go down. There was a list here that I think I posted this, but running errands with your parents, or going to your siblings' events. Oh my God. When my dad would and he didn't do it very often, but my dad would make me sometimes go to my sister's dance recitals. Oh my God, that was the worst. And again, like they're saying, and they say it was boring because you had nothing. You had nothing to pass the time. There was no cell phone. There was none of that. You sat and watched stuff. I mean, that was it. There was nothing else to do. And it said if your mom or dad was late picking you up, there were very few ways to contact them, so you just waited.
You sat there.
And waited, and waited, and waited again.
Nancy said, "Call waiting ruined prank calls." And Dan says, Good Friday, 1985. I honked all over my kitchen floor after having something the night before that didn't agree with me. I remember it was carpet and my mom cleaned it, but it sucked worse than Ishtar. And then Nancy says cassette tape's breaking, and that's the truth. When
Oh my God!
And when you put it in the cassette player, and then we go and spit the
like
tape
the
all
picture
over.
behind you right there. As a matter of fact, then the tape just gushed out a little
But that's
bit.
just the tape. But do you remember when your cassette, when like you'd have a shitty tape player, and it would spit the tape out,
Yep.
and it would be like your favorite tape.
Yep.
Like I remember I had Def Leppard, Hysteria.
Stamp.
And I played that to death, and I love that tape, and it ate it, and oh my God, I cried. And I remember my grandma, God rest her soul, we went to Faze in Wilkes-Barre, Faze drugstore.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they used to have the cassette tapes. I found it. She bought me it there. And then we used to go there, and then we would go to Boscov's, and Boscov's always had the cassette tapes with the plastic. We talked about it before.
Oh yeah, those stupid plastic things that you had to rip off with a buzz saw. Pretty much.
Sometimes the idiots at the stores would remove it, but sometimes they wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have to sit there with your damn scissors, and you'd have to saw, and then you'd saw through it.
And then you break the cassette. You'd break the case.
No, you'd hit the case, and you put a crack in the case, and you'd be, damn it, and it was the worst thing ever.
It was bad.
That's an inconvenience. There's an inconvenience.
You know, it was one of the worst places that did that, Kmart. When you go buy a cassette in Kmart, forget it. The people that are up front never had the tools for them. I don't even know if they even had them in the store, but they all came in those stupid plastic things. And yeah, like Ed said, they were terrible. You'd wreck your cassettes all the time doing that. It was annoying. It was very, very annoying. How about this one? Even then, there was no guarantee they had what you wanted in stock. So you usually end up with a knockoff of the toy you really wanted. How many times did you go into a store and you see, you're looking for like a Transformers toy, and it ends up being, they end up having GoBots, or they have one of the generic things that's there for like $2. That's supposed to look like the other thing, but it looks nothing like it. So yes, like knockoff toys were huge back then.
Especially like Zara. Zara's notorious for that.
Yep. Zara's or McCrory's. McCrory's was another store that had all that stuff too. Yes, really, really cheap crap.
Oh yeah.
Really cheap crap.
Or the one I saw from the link was like kids nowadays aren't like, they don't know how good they have it with like Disney Plus and like the Disney Channel
services. Yeah.
Like we had WPIX and WWOR, and I would play cartoons until like 7 or 8 o'clock, and it said here Jim and Tammy Baker. But yeah, we would have then all of a sudden it would switch over, and you'd have like Phil Donahue was in the afternoon.
Yeah, he was always like 3, 4 o'clock.
Well, you'd have like Sally Jesse, or you'd have like things like that. You'd have like horrible stuff like that. All of a sudden your cartoons would stop. And then you'd have televangelists and stuff, and then you were bored. Like I remember I used to hate right when cartoons would end, there would be nothing on in the morning until like The Price is Right at 11 o'clock. You remember? Then Price is Right would come on, and then from 11 to 12 was that, and then you had like Sesame Street at noon.
Sesame Street and Electric Company came on.
And then after that, it was soap operas until 3 o'clock,
3 or so,
and then
4,
and then 3 o'clock was like He-Man. 3 o'clock was like He-Man and like Transformers, and all that stuff would then come back on again.
Yep.
Like the afternoon cartoons.
Yeah, and when I was a bit younger, they had anime cartoons on in the afternoon. So I had Star Blazers and I had Speed Racer used to come on in the afternoons for me. And then the Spider-Man 60s cartoon used to come on as well in the afternoon. Yeah, I am. I worked at McCrory's, says Nancy. Nancy worked at McCrory's. There you go. I love
Nancy, was it the mall McCrory's or the one over on the west side?
What is this one? You were subjected to a disturbing amount of secondhand smoke. I shared this one because I found the picture of when a normal birthday party in the 80s, you're sitting there and there's your cake and there was like grandpa or somebody sitting next to it with an ashtray and had his big cigar sitting in the ashtray with smoke all over the place. Then there's your dad sitting next to you with a cigarette in his mouth and there's smoke all coming from him. And then you had your nervous grandmother on the side. She's smoking. And then you just sat there in a big cloud of smoke with the cake sitting in front of you. It's like, by the time you go to taste it, all you're tasting is smoke in your mouth. You want to talk about secondhand smoke? Oh, dear God. You go into any restaurant, God forbid, thank God I never went on a plane because I can't even imagine what it would have been like going on a plane.
Dude.
I mean, oh.
And the smoking section would only be divided by like nothing. It was like one section over, so the cigarette smoke would travel over. And then like I said, I remember we would go grocery shopping with my grandma in the store. And and it was funny. I made a comment before in another thing, it was Kent Golden Light 100. That was what she smoked.
Lights. I think my dad smoked those.
It's Kent Golden Light 100s. It's funny how you remember that stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I think he smoked Kent Golden Lights.
She'd smoke in the mall, and it was funny because we would. My mom smoked at one point, my grandma smoked, and my sister smoked.
Yep.
And we would drive in my sister's Nissan. It was like a Nissan SUV. I forget what it was called, but it was a Nissan. So we would go, and it would be my sister driving, my mom, my grandma next to me, and then my two nephews in the back seat. And the three of them would be puffing away. And I kid you not, that entire car would be just a cloud. And our eyes would be water and tears. And the three kids in the back would be like, I can't see. And I'll tell you what, how we don't have secondhand like smoke
cancer from
and they would just be like puffing away. And then like we would get out, we go to the restaurant, and they'd just be like, and they would just be puffing at the restaurant, going to the mall puffing, walking through the mall puffing. And then like I remember when I was little, we'd go to my aunt's house, and like that's what the adults would do. They'd sit around the coffee or around the kitchen table, have the big ashtray, and just be puffing and talking and puffing and talking. And it was like, wow, like, you know what I mean?
My wife and I were talking about this the other day. Like when you were growing up, what kind of ashtrays did your parents have? I can remember my mom having these big glass monstrosity ashtrays.
This thick?
That has
they were brown.
The brown
glass.
Yep, the brown glass, the blown glass ashtrays with the set. Yep. They were a decoration.
Do you remember the big metal ones that went up like this high?
Oh yeah.
And then they had the handle with the ashtray that sat in them.
Yep.
Those I remember too.
And like you were saying about yours, when I would go, my thing was when we would go, me and my cousins would go over to my grandparents' house. My grandmother on my mother's side, so my mom's mom and father would go over their house, and they went in there, and I think I talked about them on the show already about how they would make such good food and stuff like that. And then they would play pinochle. Well, when they started to play pinochle, my aunt, my uncle, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom really never played. But, when those four went at it, they got into such severe games of pinochle. My grandmother was so nervous. She'd come into the living room with a smoke in her mouth and just be sitting there just puffing. And the whole kitchen was smoke. You'd walk in there and it was like walking into a fog. There was so much smoke in there, and then the next thing you know, you hear them yelling and screaming, and oh my God, the three of us, me and my cousins who were younger than me, were just sitting in the living room minding our own business, either playing a game or we're watching TV, but they're in there arguing, and then they come in and you just see them smoking away. I'm like, oh my God.
Dan, I'm gonna get to that. Let's get to some comments.
Yeah.
I want to go back, though. So Nancy said, renting skates at the skating rink, tie them all up, start the skate, and screw is loose inside. It pokes you to death. Then you take them back and tie them all up again. And then she just got, this is why I got and then that was the end of it. But yeah, I never skated. I was the fat kid and I couldn't skate. I skated like twice at skating parties, did a split, ripped the crotch of my pants out, sat in the booth the whole time with my legs crossed. Swore off skating, never did it again. So I don't go into skating. Dan said, my Uncle Bob and Aunt Ginny had shag carpet in their family room, or as it was known to parents, the minefield with the risk of stepping on a Lego barefoot, followed by obligatory profanity. Nancy said the 700 Club, it still comes on and I get annoyed. Yes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Late night, it still does.
Dan said WOR gave us the holiday movie festival during Thanksgiving, though. 2 days of Godzilla and King Kong movies. They also made up for limited cartoons. WPIX also had Voltron. Yeah, and I think USA also did. But yeah, I used to love the holiday movie thing with Godzilla and King Kong. That was always awesome. I missed that. And you know what? Somebody posted somewhere about how it was a holiday event when Wizard of Oz would come on. You remember how it would come on yearly? And was that you? Somebody did.
Yeah, when did that? I think it still does, but I can't remember what the holiday was. I don't remember when it was that it would come on. But yeah, it did. It would come on once a year.
Chris said Johnny Quest.
Yep.
Chuck said, I can still see the dance my dad did after stepping on my Hot Wheels. He would just exhale loudly and shift to profanity.
Those damn things, they're all made of metal back in the day, man. Like all those things, they hurt like hell. They hurt worse than Legos. So
Nancy and Chris both said the beanbag ashtrays.
I remember those.
Chuck said 80s inconvenience, friends pulling the plug on arcade when you're approaching a high score. No, dude. I never had that happen.
I never did either. I probably would have lost it. Ooh. Yeah, I probably would have really been pissed.
And now Dan brought up a good point. What about waiting for school closing like the NFL draft?
Oh my God.
Having to use the same soap Dad scrubbed his ass with.
All
right, but no, waiting for your school closing. Like kids nowadays have a text message that says,
"Yeah, you just get told." We used to have to sit there watching that banner going across the screen, and then you're praying for your school to come on because you're waiting in alphabetical order, and you're praying for it to come on, and then it doesn't come on, and you're like, "Oh!" And then you wait for it to go through again and again. And now, and see, they didn't put those banners across all the time back then either. They'd come across every like 10, 15 minutes or so, then to go away. And
or like waiting, me, I was on Hanover, and then I would turn it on, and it would be at the M's. So then I would see like Marion Catholic, and I would be like, son of a bitch. And then you would just have to sit there and just watch it scroll. And I'm like, oh my God. And then you're like half awake, and you want to try and keep your eyes closed because you're thinking, if I don't have school, I could go back to bed. And then the other thing is, if like you knew you had to, if it was going to snow, you're going to stay up late and watch cartoons or watch movies or whatnot. And then so you're halfway. And then the shitty thing would be if you did stay up late and you didn't have a closing and you had to go to school. That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
because then you're beat the next day. Yeah, definitely. Being bullied inconvenienced the hell out of me. Well, I guess I imagine it would.
I'm sorry about that, Chris.
Yeah. Well, listen, we can go on stories about that. I can go back to when I was too, but I think we all had bullies back in the day. But yeah, I mean,
we could do an episode about that.
Yeah, we could. There are a lot of after-school bully specials, I think, back then too. But yeah, I mean, you can think about all the things you have today that just makes life so much easier. But I think a lot of people just end up taking it for granted. You don't really, because it's so common that you don't stop to think like about. I mean, even me, selling electronics and cell phones for all these years. You think back to when we didn't have them or when they first came out. I mean, I was selling bag phones in Radio Shack. So those big ass phones that you used to have to, you pay a penny for them. They were always free. But then your calling plans, because back then Verizon didn't exist. It was Alltel. And you would get a plan from them and your first incoming minute was free. And then after that, it was $4.99 a minute.
Dear God.
$4.99 a minute to make a phone call. I mean, it's insane. Nobody could afford them. The only people you saw that had them were people that were loaded. People were rich people that had them.
How about this one that was on that list? And this one we did, and it was so funny. And I remember this. You were so bored that you passed the time by looking through the phone book for people with weird last names. Did you ever do this? Because I know we did. And when I saw that really hit home to me. And how many people did any of you guys, are 5 people watching? Did you ever like go through the phone book and look at funny people, funny last names? Because we did. That was something.
I think we used to go through and we had our phases where we'd go through and we'd prank people. We didn't really do anything nasty, but we would call up and sometimes you just call and you get nervous and then you just hang up or you look for stuff. But yeah, I can remember doing
we
that.
did that, and when I worked at Bones's, we had the phone number of the payphone across 309 at Orlowski's Car Wash. So sometimes if we saw people over there standing by the payphone, we'd call it. And then people would be like silly enough to pick it up and be like, hello? And we'd be like, I see you have a nice yellow windbreaker on. Oh, that is a nice red sweater you're wearing. And they would like look around and be like, who is this? And we'd be like, I'm watching you. And they would be like, what? And we'd be over there chuckling and laughing like idiots. You know what I mean? But
oh my God.
but Chris said he looked for famous names. Like in The Jerk, I'm in the phone book. I'm in something now. I'm somebody.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, you can go back to wondering why the hell people would want their names in a phone book. But I guess you really didn't have a choice. I think there was just post you or you could just get that what they had an unlisted number, but you had to pay more for it. You could.
How about when video games didn't have saves? That was a tough one.
Oh, for God's sake.
Kids nowadays don't know what it's like with video games. Like, you had to play through a whole Nintendo. If you wanted to beat a video game, you had to play through that thing. And, like, literally, like, that was it. You know what I mean?
I can't tell you how many times that I died playing the original Mario Brothers on the last board on that little tiny column that was in the middle of that big long jump. You had to go running over there and jump really long and get right on that little tiny one block pole in the middle, and then you had to go over and then back over to the other side. That was the biggest pain. Bowser was nothing. That was the biggest pain in the ass. I died on that so many times. Google.
Joseph.
Yes.
How about when you wanted an escort, you had to drive down the street, pray to God it wasn't a cop. Everybody knows that the hot hookers are the cops. So you had to look for a somewhat either decent, like normal looking one who was like a 6, or maybe she was kind of ugly or fat, and that was the prostitute. These people nowadays can just look in the back of the phone book for escorts and just have them come to your house, give them your credit card, and then you could have a good time with them. Not back then, no. I had to borrow a friend's car, put on a fake beard, put on a hat and sunglasses, and drive down the street and pray to God it wasn't a police officer. And then if it was, my name was in the damn newspaper. And I had to give a fake name because I just wanted to get the fluffer. That was it. You know, Joe?
That's very inconvenient.
That happened back in the 80s.
That did. That was that was inconvenient.
Bullshit, Joe. It's bullshit.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree.
Stupid stuff, Joe.
Oh my God. What we didn't do.
That was an inconvenience for me in the 80s, Joe. I just wanted to have a good time.
There you go. Understand. Totally understand.
And they didn't take my Bankers Club card.
The Diners Club card.
The Diners Club card.
Diners Club, yeah.
Yes. Diners Club International. They did not take that. And I was a high roller too. I made like good bank,
Yeah. I could see that.
Stupid stuff, if you ask me, Joe.
Yes, it was. It was a bad time back then.
It was, but it was a good time too, because there was a lot of promiscuous loving, if you get my stuff. Google it out. He's got a point.
He does have a point. Yeah.
Now it's just you make a phone call and they're right at your door.
That's very true.
I got some funny stories about that. Not with me. You know the stories, but can't say them on a podcast.
Yeah. 900 numbers, high phone bills, dad whipping your ass like, to quote Jim Ross, like a government mule. There's also the fun of looking in the dictionary for dirty words.
That's what Dan brought about memory of that, looking up like dirty words. I remember looking up the F-dash word in there, and it was in the dictionary and cracking up laughing.
Yep. Yep.
And the 900 numbers, I got in so much trouble because it was like Nintendo and it said like you could get a free Nintendo game. And I thought if I called like for and hung up, you know, you wouldn't be charged if it was under a minute.
Oh
And
my God.
I got in so much trouble.
Yep. Yeah, I dialed a bunch of them too. I called for the MTV things when you could go and vote for videos, and it was like 50 cents to call, and then 99 cents a minute. Oh yeah, those things were horrible.
And Chris says, "Is this really Jim Morrison? I thought you were dead." Yeah, we did that. We used to call and ask, "Is this Loretta Lynn?" Loretta Lynn, and we did that all the time. Or we asked him, you know, is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go catch it. And then we had that. My buddy Dave and I found that number. I don't know where the hell we found it. It was 1-800-9-France, I think it was, and it would actually dial you to France. Well, we took French in high school, so we would be like bonjour, and we would like speak like horrible, like broken French to them, and we'd be like parlez-vous anglais, and it would be like oh oui, and then it would start speaking, and we'd be like F you, and then we'd like hang up and laugh. So this poor French, like,
oh my God, right?
This poor French lady. Now it's like, you know, midnight our time, so it's like 6 a.m. their time. They're just getting on their shift. They probably hate their life, and then they have this stupid teenage kid speaking horrible French to them, and they're like, "I hate my life. I'm in a dead end job. I have to work here and support my family." And then they have me calling saying this, and they're like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're terrible.
Oh God, yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. My friends
back Columbia House. Oh God,
my friends found a line to call, and it had to be one of my best friends growing up because he found all the bad stuff, but he found one to call that it must have been like an early porn line because you just hear these women talking to you on the phone, and it's like, and again, God only knows, but I just remember when he came over the house that night, all excited, and he's like, is your mom working? I'm like, well, not right now. But is she going to work? Yeah. All right. Well, we got this thing. We got to do this with your mom. And I'm like, oh dear God. And then he has this thing scrawled out on a notepad paper, and he opens it up and calls this number. And it was this, you know, hey, and it was like one of those commercials now you hear at nighttime.
Call
and then there was
pick up the phone. Remember that you don't have to be alone tonight. Yes. Remember that one?
Yep. They still sell those.
When you couldn't find your dad's magazine stash, so you had to make do with the ladies' intimate section at the Sears catalog.
Or it's National Geographic. National Geographic was enough.
With the winter bush.
National Geographic.
My buddy's dad would have the magazines, and he would take them, and then he had this awesome tree fort. It was like the best one ever, and he had this hidden floor in it that he would move the carpet away and lift the floor up, awesome. And he stashed them. But what he was smart as he would do is he would take Ziploc bags and he would put the pornos in the Ziploc bags, and then he would bury them out in the dirt. So like he didn't get caught, and he had like maps drawn. This kid was like a genius. I'll tell you what, I'm surprised he didn't grow up to be like an entrepreneur or something. This kid was so damn smart.
That same friend found a line too where you called this line and it was like an on the phone kind of a encyclopedia, or like they would read things to you. You call this line and press the different buttons to get different topics, and they would just talk to you about topics. Well, the one, of course, was sex education. So you get this guy talking to you about, well, you put this into this, and then this happens, and we're cracking up. We're roaring, and we're cracking up laughing. It's like listening to a health teacher talk about that stuff with you, and oh my God, how uncomfortable is stuff like that in health? We didn't really even have it when I was younger. They started that a little bit later, but oh my God. And you're listening to this like robotic voice talk about like all of this stuff, and it's like we're cracking up laughing, and I'm like, oh my God.
We saw The Miracle of Life, and I got yelled at because I was making sound effects during it. And the one kid actually threw up when the baby was born. They're all like warning us, like this is graphic. And our one buddy puked in the garbage can. It was so awesome. It was like the most epic thing. You're like, oh, Drew threw up. Nancy has a good point. You had to memorize
phone numbers.
I had like a phone, like a Rolodex thing that you had to push the numbers, and I had them all in it. But yeah, that's true. Like I only know like my wife's phone number, and I think my mom's. I don't know phone numbers worth a damn. They're all on my cell phone. If like my cell phone went, thank God for iCloud. You know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no, that's a good point. My grandmother and I think my mom had one too. Those little, they were metal. So there was this metal kind of a metal pad, and you had letters. So there's A, B, C, D, and they would go all the way down the alphabet. You'd hit this little button when you wanted a list of. So if you hit P, it would pop open. This little trap would pop up, and the paper would go to P, and then you'd have all your P names written down in that one with the phone numbers and stuff like that. But you had little things like that. But yeah,
what are cherry bomb mufflers screaming through the neighborhood as the local ladies man drove by with high hair girls? You had no chance with. He's talking about like the guys that drove past you with those loud ass cars. When they hear the boom, I thought boom. Because I thought it was like things you put in the mufflers. Because you know what that? No. Oh, I thought it was like
those loud sugar mufflers that had all the holes in them and shit back in the day that you'd hear coming down like a mile away. And then yeah, he's talking about like the guys that whenever you see an atypical '80s movie, the guy that has the big mullet. And then he's got the women with the hair that's way out the hair on either arm, and he's driving down in this like kick-ass race car.
They make a gag gift. It's like a flat piece of metal like this, and it goes like this. And there's a good friend of ours. I won't say his name. All I know is his middle name is Lawrence. And we went to dinner one time, and so I had it. It's like round like this. And then the thing goes like this. And so you stick it in the exhaust pipe, and it's called an exhaust whistler.
Oh, God.
So we went to dinner, and when he was in the restaurant, I ran out, and I'm like this, and I'm like creeping like this. And I crept out, and I stuck it in his exhaust pipe, right? So he gets in his car. He's like, see you later. And he's driving down Route 11, and this thing goes, it sounded like the Jetsons car. It was like 99 cents at like Five Below, right? Yes. And oh my God, I have to look online to see if they still sell them. And it goes,
oh my God.
And it goes driving down the highway. Now I'm grabbing my crotch. I almost peed my pants. I'm on the ground like rolling because it's like so high pitched. And down the street, right? I'm laughing so hard, right? Well, this wasn't funny. He took his car to the mechanic because he thought there was something wrong with his car. But this thing, I'll tell you what, if you people could find it, it's called, I think, an exhaust whistler. It is the greatest thing in the world. You have to bend it out so it fits in the exhaust, but you pop it up in the exhaust and it makes the car whistle. It is the best gag gift you can ever find. That's what I thought Chuck meant, is that it was like a cherry bomb whistle.
Oh yeah. No.
Oh my God. This thing is so funny. If you want to play a gag on somebody, this thing is awesome. It is so funny. Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I never laughed so hard in my life hearing this thing go. Oh my God. I cried so hard.
That's great, man. It's crazy all the crap that we had, but see what and you know, that's kind of what I meant when I kind of titled this show as like, yeah, you know, the stuff was inconvenient, but you know, you had a great time with all this stuff, and now you kind of miss it. That you don't have it all anymore. One of the funniest jokes ever. Talking about the muffler thing.
Oh my God, yeah, we were crying. We were holding on to each other. Like we had to hold each other up. We were laughing so hard.
Oh my God,
it was outstanding.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It was beautiful.
Well, we're getting almost on 10 after 10, so it is lyric time.
We're having fun when we're going long.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is Captain's Choice time, so I have got my lyric for you guys to guess. So here we go, is tonight's lyric. Of course, this is an 80s song, and sometimes it has some stuff to do with what we're talking about, sometimes not, and this is a case of the latter. So, all right, here we go. I made a fire and watching it burn. Thought of your future. With one foot in the past. Now just how long will it last? So there you go. That's tonight's lyric. I made a fire and watching it burn. Thought of your future. With one foot in the past, now just how long will it last? Who did it? Who sang the song? What song is it? I took a lyric out of, this might be a little bit of a tough one. I took one out of I mean, it's popular. The song is very, very popular. And I'll give you one hint. The band just released this past Friday, a brand new album. So there you go.
I know the band then.
They just released an album this past Friday.
Nancy's gonna say.
I'm guessing. I think I know what Nancy's thinking.
I know what Nancy's gonna say. No, she's changing it. I thought she said.
Oh, she's not. She's changing it.
Yeah, because she was something upset about the Wiz. Remember we were saying?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Dan said, while we're thinking here, Ed, how about the having labels on all your stuff in school, which attracted guys like Big Dom and Rocco the Knife, who might have looked like Buddy from 3 O'Clock High, like a bloody fish attracts sharks. Nancy says, I don't have a guess. Oh,
not the Wiz, Nancy? Oh my God! It
doesn't even have a guess.
Is it supposed to snow tomorrow? Kidding. The Wiz.
There it is. All right.
Oh, hey, you know what? Speaking while we're waiting.
It is not the Scorpions, but that's a good guess because they do have an album out. And it's supposed to be very good, by the way. I haven't heard it all. But
speaking of that, this last week, we didn't post pictures. We went to an 80s murder mystery. I have to talk about that.
That's right. You did. You sent me one.
And Gina and Nancy. And I'll tell you what, it was absolutely awesome. It was an 80s murder mystery in Hazleton.
Yeah.
And myself, Gina, and our friends dressed as the Golden Girls. Nancy was an 80s person. We had some friends that dressed as Hall & Oates. Actually, it was our cousins.
That's funny.
And I'll tell you, it was absolutely awesome. It was such a good time. I don't want to brag, but it's my second trophy that I won at a murder mystery. We won for best costume. Last one was best actor. It was so much fun. We had a blast.
That's awesome.
I was never into murder mysteries before, but these things were great. And I tell you, I recommend it.
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah, we were the Golden Girls. I was my girl, B. Arthur. Love B. Arthur. Nancy was awesome. Nancy says she loved it. Nancy was great. Gina was great. We had so much fun. It was really a great time.
That's awesome, man.
It was really, really fun.
I won't give you another hint, but I'm
gonna say, was it Tears for Fears?
It is.
Yeah, because they had an album that came out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, good call. It's Head Over Heels. I would have read the I'm made of fire and watching it burn. Thought of your future with one foot in the past. Now just how long will it last? Yeah. So it was Head Over Heels by Tears for Fears. One of my favorite Tears for Fears songs. And the album's pretty good. I don't know if you heard it.
I heard part of it.
Yeah. But it's pretty good. So again, what comes around goes around. All these bands coming out with new albums. The Scorpions one, actually, a lot of people are saying it's one of their best albums ever.
Wow.
Like leading all the way back to the stuff that they did in the late 70s and stuff. So yeah, all this new music coming out by old artists. I know Hall & Oates, or Daryl Hall actually has an album coming out too with his stuff from Live at Daryl's Place, which a lot of it was very good. He does a version of Here Comes the Rain Again from the Eurythmics, which is fantastic.
Guys, pay attention to what's going on in the world. There's a lot of craziness right now. So try and just take care of each other.
Yep.
Just pay attention, seriously. I don't know what's going to happen, but as long as we have each other and just, try and take care of each other and stay strong and, just, I don't know, help support each other. I personally don't know what's going to happen, but, just pay attention to everything. Things might get bad, things might straighten out, but who knows? It's a sad situation. Like I said, I really don't want to talk too much about it because we don't want to be political, but things are scary right now. It really is a scary time for everybody. We talked earlier about it. We really didn't want to talk too much about it, but it's a scary time right now. So just try and get support from your friends and family and just pay attention to everything. Like if you don't really follow the news and stuff, just start paying attention to stuff, and say, my heart, like we said, our heart goes out to everybody involved with it. It's really sad.
Definitely is. Yeah. And again, sometimes you don't learn from history when you really should. So
no, and history repeats itself sometimes, and it's sad. And you know, so
very
just
true.
And you know what, you know, if you're not one of those people that believes in preparing for things, maybe you might want to start looking into like preparing for stuff, like maybe looking into buying like, you know, rations and stuff like that, because you never know what might happen. So it doesn't hurt to be prepared. It really doesn't.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So
go see Batman this weekend.
Oh, go see Batman. On a happy note, Joe. Go see Batman.
Batman's out this weekend.
I'm always one that likes to prepare for everything. So, and message me if you want to message me on Facebook and talk about that stuff, because I'm always like one that believes in that stuff. But yeah, go see Batman. We're gonna go see it on Monday night.
Yep.
We'll talk about it with you left and right. I love Batman. Batman's awesome. Go see Batman.
Go see Batman, and Picard starts tomorrow if you're into Star Trek.
Picard?
So there you go.
Yeah, way to change it, Joe. Good job. Thank you. We love you guys.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you so much for supporting us.
Thank you very much for joining us. And remember to check out Artiva, whether it's on Twitter or in your favorite music area that you go and listen to. And hopefully we will see you all next week for another episode of I Lived the 80s. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon.